What up?
What's happening?
What's happening? Where the hell is you, Cletus?
I'm right here. I'm in a gray hole, apparently, according to my avatar.
All right, I got to shut down my volumes on all these different locations. You're right there. You have no avatar. You're faceless. You're just a white sphere. You're like a cum stain or something.
I'm in the white hole.
He's in the hole of whiteness. He's wholly white. So how you doing there? It's been how was your weekend, Cletus?
It was good.
I heard
It was
you got your ass kicked by some blades of grass. That's the word in the streets.
Yeah, I got my ass kicked by some blades of grass, and she got her ass kicked by some fish sticks. How about that?
So the fish, yeah, well, it's better than swimming with the fishes, right? I mean,
Yeah, yeah. I
you
think
know,
they.
that's
I think that's what the fish sticks had in mind for her, though.
well, yeah, she was ejecting, yeah, both ends. She was projecting from both, but she talks from two different places, and both of them were ejecting things she'd rather not discuss, right?
All right,
Oh my
exactly.
Right.
god. Why is this a conversation?
uh,
Well, I don't know. You're talking out your ass. You're shooting things out of your ass. Apparently, surrounded by mirrors. I don't know what the hell you're doing over there. I, it,
uh,
life is never as easy as we hope it to be. Now, is it? Here we go again on Twitter. Okay, Twitter isn't doing it. It looks like it's working. There's two viewers on Twitter.
like, there you go.
What the hell? So we'll see. It looks like it's working tonight. So that's pretty good. Please wait till your video finishes process. I can't be sure, but I think Rumble's working. And there's 8 people over here on YouTube. But I am not going to say another word until I get 100 likes. Get me in the boogie. Let's
Let me
get down.
just give you. Let me give you $8.99 so you can get you a new cable.
$7.99. I don't want $1
And
more
make
than
me a. Then you can make me a moderator.
I need. What are we going to call you? Can't call you a war pig. Oh my god.
The
Well,
D.
Yeah, I'll just be the D.
right? So we're going to tell that story because that story is just too funny. We had this wrestling discussion about Hamburg, and then suddenly it turned into a discussion about the D, right? And we were saying that all the time, just out of nowhere. I often would yell the D, and then up comes the fucking Super Bowl, and I got people over here watching the Super Bowl, and every time who was the team? It was San Fran against KC.
San Francisco. Yeah, it was
Every
San
time the
Fran's quarterback.
quarterback got the ball, he would yell, "Watch the D!" And the
And
whole
we were
Super
watching
Bowl,
it at the same fucking time, and I forget which one of us messaged the other, but yeah,
I
we
called
both
you
thought
guys.
the
I was
same.
like, "Am I hearing this?" Because I was driving people crazy.
Yeah, that was funny.
Oh man, that shit is just too much. And he meant watch the defense, but he's yelling out D. I'm like, oh, this can't be real, man. We just spent weeks yelling that out. It must have infected this quarterback. Anyway, so tonight we're going to talk about believing information and how we all need to put an effort in to stop believing information. What say you there, Cletus?
Well, I would say vet information before you form a belief in it, because I think a lot of people, belief should be based on facts or faith, but either way, it should be vetted before you're so committed to it that you cannot be moved in any direction at all.
Right. And both and it seems that we have been taught to believe things. And we've been taught to put faith in things. And the way we've been taught to use those two words seems inconsequential, but it is in fact the root of all evil. It's the root of all of our arguments. It's why people go back and forth and get pissed off at each other because when you believe something, you protect it. Is that fair?
Yeah, that is fair.
So if a Christian and a Muslim get together, they're going to protect their belief in their creator, whatever they deem to be God, right?
Yep.
And people take the same position with information. Why am I getting feedback? Is it coming from Twitter? It might be. No. And this is why there's never anything accomplished, because we end up arguing what we believe versus looking at the facts and discussing and even arguing the facts, right? Am I feeding back on your side?
No.
No.
Okay.
Are you hearing yourself? Is that what you're getting?
No, I don't think it's me. I mean, when is it ever me? Come on, it's me talking about me. How could it be me? Oh man, I don't think. I do got 5 people up here on Rumble. But the nature of, I think, of our big issues when it comes to looking at politics or crime is people hear horror stories about Chris, right? Whether they're in their mind, everybody's got different level of horror stories. But let's just say they hear negativity about a person, and they accept that and believe that's the kind of person they are. Somebody did something a few years ago or 10 years ago. And then once they wrap their head around believing that that's the kind of person they are, then they start, and anything you accuse them now is fair game. And they start going after people because they believe these people are no good.
Well, and at the end of the day, I think it comes down to they have faith in their belief that these people are no good because there's no facts that actually support it. There's facts that people will trigger their opinions on, and that will create their belief, but it's always based on their past points of reference to somebody that exhibited those same behaviors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's
Once an addict, always an addict. Once an addict, always an addict, right?
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it's a dangerous thing, right? Like you can go look at you could apply it to 9/11, right? The whole racial things that came from that, and people they would see somebody of Arab descent or even appearing to be of Arab descent and would immediately associate them with terrorism because that was their point of reference. And they had faith that they were right. That was their belief, even though there was no facts to support that. But as people became more open-minded and actually, cared to venture down the road of having conversations and learning a little bit about people, then that faith starts to dwindle, that belief starts to dwindle, and things start getting done.
Right. And it's that belief system and the faith and the belief that you apply to man's knowledge, which is the crux of all of our wrongs. That causes the division among people. Now, some homosexuals may be pedophiles, but not all homosexuals are pedophiles. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Some black folks commit crimes. Okay. Others don't. Is that fair?
That's fair.
Okay. And what happens is we form a belief around things that we see or mostly that we hear. And in that believing of that information, we erase our ability to be objective and review the data that's in front of us or the information. Like when we look at a criminal case as an example, or even a political issue. But let's go criminal. People have gone off the wall with attacking Chris and accusing him of having something to do with Sebastian's disappearance. Correct?
Yep, that's correct.
And they tear him apart. They'll argue amongst themselves. Fair?
That's fair.
But they're not arguing a fact that connects him to the disappearance of the boy, are they?
No, usually it's I'll hear or I'll read, I'll read chat a lot, and I'll see people saying something to the effect of anybody, I've known people that act just like him and he's a piece of shit or things like that, right? And again, it's based on points of reference that people have to someone in their past that had similar traits on the surface, right? Or they see a correlation, so they immediately make an association.
Or how about when they refuse to make an association when in fact it should be made? I can give you an example of that. And this is for you Twitter folks, you political folks, you propagandists, you losers. So you have a president that you believe is going to fix everything, and his name is Trump. Now, in all fairness, I would vote for Trump. No question about it over Biden. None at all. However, that guy did to us with COVID exactly what you would have expected Hillary to do. And that's turn us over to Hillary's cronies and relinquish control of that pandemic or that whatever that was to Dr. Fauci and the ilks of people connected to the Clinton Foundation. Trump literally did that to us. And yet nobody has any bad opinion about that. They refuse to review the facts and make a conclusion because that will conflict with their belief that Trump is the savior. Trump is the only guy that can fix this. And that's where, as a group, we're fucked up. How fucked up we are. We're missing. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I mean, I think a lot of, and I mean, I've been there myself. I've thought the same thing, just, in a moment of anger about something, the way things are now or whatever. And I'll always relate it back to how things were in my life during the Trump administration. And I'll jump on board with the same thing and say, oh, he'll save the day, right? But then I get out of my emotional state and I think about it and I'm like, well, I mean, maybe not, but there are questionable things about him as well. And it's like,
highly questionable things, right? I mean, things that are fair game that should be questioned, not because you're against them, but because it's consistent with what the other politicians have done to us over time. Like I did a private stream and I did it for 4 years following the Russia accusations and all kinds of political issues. Every issue of the day was part of my stream. Okay. And I said oftentimes, he's either with us or against us. And that you can't determine which it is until you know. But you have to accept that he could be with us or against us. That's only fair. If you want the answer, you have to be open to one or the other. You can't only say he's completely with us. And I'll give people some examples of how this isn't true. Most of what he did for us was done by executive order, not an act of Congress. He didn't create new laws to build that border wall. This wasn't written in law. And therefore, the minute Biden got in there, he stopped it. You see? So most of what he did, the Keystone Pipeline, all of the things he did for energy were executive orders. And I said the whole time, those are going to be no good if he lost. And what ended up happening? And the only reason I was able to make those statements ain't because I'm a fucking prophet. It's because it was fair, it was honest, and it's true. And so all those things did end up happening when Biden got in. Most of what Trump did was reversed because they were executive order. And yet nobody that supports Trump, at least most of the people that support Trump, refuse to look at anything he did in a light other than he was awesome. They believe this guy is exactly what the country needs and all the country needs. And I'm saying that's just inaccurate. It's not true. Is he better than the other asshole? Sure. Right? There's people better than me because I'm an asshole. True. Right?
Well, and it's that belief in unknowable things that will walk you right off a damn cliff, right?
Right.
Like that's the way I see that. Because I think in that situation you're talking about, a lot of people could absolutely be like, oh, I'm definitely going to vote for Trump because it couldn't be any worse than it is now, or it's got to be better because he did such a good job before. But in fact, you have no idea what he's really going to do. And I would contend, how much did he do that was actually something you wanted versus what he wanted? Because at the end of the day, that's what a politician should be about. Not about what they want, but about what you want.
And, I've said this for years. And I still think people don't get it. But with Trump in office, you can change the mainstream media. People have the power to control what's going on around us as a group. I can't change the mainstream media alone. This stream, no matter how big it gets, may impact, but never change unless those people that come to the stream decide they want to get together and do something. And nothing violent, just simply change your economic conditions, your spending situation, where you spend, what you spend your money on, what you're willing to support and not support financially. That simple act can change the entire country. And all kinds of issues, from the border to crime to law enforcement. And yet we seem to think that we're going to vote somebody in that's going to fix our lives. When do we get involved with fixing our lives? Cletus?
Well, I think a lot of that lies in the whole issue with belief, right? A lot of people believe that it's that's the best they can do, or they'll have faith in the government will take care of us.
Right.
Or you could even say the belief that they will, and it's blind. It's belief based on blind faith, right?
And only should be directed to your religious belief. And let me tell you, for those of you that don't believe in God, that is your religious belief. You'll argue tooth and nail he don't exist. Obviously, you believe it, and that's perfectly okay with me. The other guy will argue tooth and nail he does. But here's the best part about this argument, and this is what makes belief so powerful. When you believe in something, there need be no evidence to support your conclusion, and no contradictive evidence will sway your conclusion. Okay? And that's where we end up when we become the propagandists on Twitter with all of the information. You see these tweets and all these lunatics. Like, I was listening to Russell Brand today. More and more of the outrage, more and more of how bad Pfizer is and how many kids were hurt and killed. And no solution, no understanding that can be changed by the way the people respond. And it's not how you respond at the voting booth. It's how you respond at the cash register. That's what gives us the power. So, like Peterson there, Scott, or whatever his name is up there in Canada, that I don't know, he's a psychologist or something. He probably would give me a failing grade if he gave me an exam, and I probably would earn it. However, he doesn't offer any kind of group solution where masses of us can make a decision on where we are going to spend our money and what we're going to demand companies do in order to get our money. There is no movement like that. And that's really what the country needs. It doesn't matter who the president is. That's the other thing. Even with Joe Biden in office, you could simply decide, right, that you're not going to buy Tide because they're connected to the mainstream media, and let Tide know, we ain't buying we love your soap, we ain't buying it no more because you support all those lies on mainstream media. And that's kind of why I think talking about belief, but then also showing you how believing in information prevents you from acting as a group. You share the same belief, but yet you don't really do anything with it. And the reason, I think, is because, you'll fight and die for your God, but you're going to fight and die for the border wall. Very few people will do that, right?
Yeah. No, that's a fair statement. And as it relates to true crime, what you just said, right? You can fight and die for your belief, but it really does no good. And a good example of that is with Sebastian Rogers. He's ultimately missing. He's the situation at hand. But it got turned into this war between whether Chris Proudfoot, his stepdad, did something to him or not. And at the end of the day, neither one, no matter which side is correct, it doesn't help the situation, and it prevents people from doing anything to help the situation because they're so caught up.
In all fairness, this is another problem that people because, look, folks, we haven't been trained how to think, and we've been mistrained. We think that we're creative thinkers and that and we are, but only within the confines and topics that they gave us. That's the catch-22 about belief and how you could be manipulated and how you, as a herd of people, the bubble, can be directed by others in that bubble. I was part of that bubble and directing people, and I no longer have any part in that. My point is we need to get out of this bubble, and you need to look at facts. When it comes to Sebastian Rogers and Chris Proudfoot, the only fact that we know exists is he didn't have anything to do with it. We know that, and we can prove that because he's not been charged nor arrested for that. So you have to accept that piece of information as being true at this moment in time. And acting on what's true right now is all you can act on. The idea you can conjure up in your head that this guy did something is an inappropriate use of information based on belief that has no fucking place in man's information. It only belongs with your belief in a religious or spiritual entity. That's it. And people don't seem, they say, well, I believe Chris Proudfoot's no good. No. You can think that, but that still doesn't connect him to the disappearance. Think it all you want. But once you believe it, then any outside information, like my statement, am I wrong when I say, as of this second, at 9:21, I'll give you the exact time, 9:21 and 40 seconds, Chris Proudfoot has nothing to do with that disappearance. Is that a fact, Cletus?
That's a fact.
And the problem is people can't understand that information is dynamic. It changes. It needs to be discussed. And you need to accept what's in front of you for what it is, not believe it. I don't believe the guy didn't do anything. I can pretty much say I know he didn't because there's been no legal action brought against the guy. Not to say that there can't be legal information. And if and when that happens, I will accept it for what it says. Right?
Yeah, and I think, the information aspect of it is where some of the danger comes into play too, right? I'll give you an example. Today, it was brought up about the bite marks and bite marks on his arm.
They're not bite marks, but okay.
And I was looking at that, and I'm like, I don't. Number one, what I'm seeing that everybody's referring to, I can see how somebody could draw the conclusion that appears like it could be bite marks, but I see nothing definitive. And then I go look at the original image from the original video, and there's no marks even there.
Oh my God, that's what I said.
And that's where the danger in the information aspect of it comes from. And
they're separated by weeks. There's weeks and weeks between the original video and the one that they're claiming shows bite marks. Are you mean to tell me the kid went missing on Sunday night, and 3 weeks later, bite marks show up on this guy's arm?
Well, it was 9 days.
Okay, 9 days. So for 9 days, there were no marks. Then all of a sudden, there's a mark, and that's the problem with believing Chris did it. You can't believe he did it. You can think he did it, but once you believe, it also allows you to do other heinous things that you may normally not do, which is what's surrounding the Proudfoots. You follow them around, you make these accusations, you want to protest them, you hold up filthy signs, and they do the same thing in politics.
Well, and I think, what I was saying was the information itself, right? So your belief's going to be based on facts or faith.
No, belief requires no fact at all. That's the catch-22 with a belief. Belief is an act that requires no fact.
Right. If it doesn't require fact, it requires faith. Is that would you say that's a fair statement?
Okay, I'll agree with that.
Okay. So a lot of belief that he has done something to Sebastian has been based on information that has been taken as fact.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? And a lot of the information out there is just complete horseshit. But nobody will look at the fact that it's already been debunked. I've seen I don't know how many times people promoting the idea of, well, he couldn't have had a relationship with him because I've seen no photos of him. Well, that's a lack of information that you formed a belief on because of a lack of information. And then the information that a lot of the information that is out there is from sources that aren't credible and that have been known to falsify shit or just promote unvetted information.
Right. And when people, I'll give you a good example of that is that video of light. People believed that that video was real, and that video took on a whole fucking new, it sucked all the air out of the room. Nick Ferris, that piece of shit reporter, puts that video out there, and that video is baseless. There's no way to support the points he was he didn't try to make. He told us what we were looking at, and he was wrong, and he should never have done that until he verified that video, and he never did that. And if he did, it makes him even more of a piece of shit. But people believed that information had value. They took on faith that it was accurate. Then they believed in it. And the problem is that's not how you're supposed to deal with information. You're supposed to look at that video file, listen to this guy's story, and chalk it up as, okay, that's one possible explanation. And sadly, when it comes to dealing with man's shit, you got to wait for more data to come forward. And when it did come forward, it showed that video was wrong. Is that accurate?
Yeah, as of 9/20 whatever today, that is accurate, right?
Yep.
So
it's a tragedy how people have, where your own power to believe and your own faith is being manipulated against you, and you think that you're thinking independently and that your thoughts are your own, and they're not. We're all brainwashed. I'm victim to it too. And that's really the whole point of this, me coming back out to stream and dragging Cletus in, because we all need to understand exactly what we are doing inaccurately, what we're doing to hurt ourselves, mostly. And we need to overcome that. Stop believing in the data. Take the information. Like there's a nice guy, his name is 12 Gauge Phillips. And he put on a video of an older guy getting into a tussle with teenage or young adults, teenagers to young adults, where the adult male in his 40s or 50s stabbed 5 of them and killed 1 of them. And when you watch the video, it's presented to the people as if these kids responded inappropriately to him. But when you see the whole video, then you can understand why the kids reacted the way they did. And when you read the law, you then can see that factually, this man should have been convicted of a crime for stabbing and killing somebody. Right?
Yeah.
But the minute you see the video, especially in the short version that's on the media, you immediately think that those kids had it coming to them. Right, Cletus?
I would say it definitely creates a divide in the room based on an emotional response instead of facts, for sure.
And most people jumped onto believing that this guy didn't do anything wrong. Those kids overreacted and misbehaved, and it was in his right to defend himself. And the other people, and very few people actually considered the whole video and held up the law and read the law. And when you do that, the gentleman clearly was convicted for a crime he absolutely committed. Right?
Yeah.
And you can get to that conclusion fairly and honestly by looking at the facts as just data. It's just information. It isn't. There's nothing to believe here.
Well, and this whole conversation, every time we talk about this, I consider what it would be like to be facing a jury of your peers, right? And everybody's worried about juror bias, but sometimes I really think about that, and I'm like, if 12 people that I see on in chat rooms or online or whatever, if they were jurors for a trial against, let's say, Chris Proudfoot, let's say he was arrested and said he was involved with the disappearance of Sebastian, could they find 12 people that would forego their belief that he's done something and truly consider the facts that would be presented before them? Or would they just walk in there with the preconceived notion that he did it and there's nothing you're going to show me that's going to prove otherwise because I believe he did it?
Right. And you want to know, I'm glad you said that. Because that's exactly how cases are tried. They're tried to get your belief, not your brain. They don't want you looking at the facts. They want you to believe in what it's this way or that way. And everything is framed to try to capture your belief, not your intellect. They don't want you thinking, whether it be a legal case or it be in politics. If you actually stopped and thought, okay, and separated your belief from the global warmer and reviewed what we're doing as humans and reviewed our transportation and just looked at, forget the guy's belief, just look at the benefits of electrifying the transportation industry. If you just looked at the benefits, you'd be like, man, that's a great idea. But you refuse to do that. And nobody points that out to you because you believe that the guy that believes in global warming is a nut job, and the guy that believes in global warming thinks you're a nut job, and you're arguing about your belief. You're not actually looking in the middle where you need to be looking, where the facts lie. And the facts are in. You would all be better off with electric vehicles. Now, does that solve all of our problems? No, there's a lot of problems that go along with that solution. You need to increase the grid. You need to build more power plants. There is a lot that needs to be done. However, the bottom line is we would all be better for it. And we can't have that conversation because I would get labeled a global warmer lover, right? Or an anti-global warmer lover. And it's their belief. Like we say this all the time. A lot of people on the other side look the government as if it's their God. And what you don't even realize you're seeing are people actively believing in something. And then because you don't hold a mirror up to yourself, you don't realize you're doing the same thing they are. You're believing in Trump. You're believing in Republicans. You're believing in this. You're doing the same things. We're all wrong. All of us. It isn't a left or a right thing. That's the danger of belief. Look at the power, how it controls the world, because people believe one side of an issue that they gave you versus your side of the issue that they gave you. Fair enough?
Yeah,
is that fair enough?
That's a fair statement. That's a fair statement.
Right? Black people are no good is the side of an issue that they gave you. My experience with human beings is color doesn't matter. Is another argument, right? That they gave you, or you came to your own conclusion. But especially with global warming, I think that's the best example of all. I mean, I probably am the most effective person to show you that it doesn't exist. I don't know anybody that's ever given the simple facts that I've given to show you that it just doesn't exist. But that it doesn't exist doesn't mean we shouldn't electrify the country. That's the catch-22. I know it doesn't exist. I don't believe it. I know it doesn't, but that doesn't mean we shouldn't advance ourselves to the next level and get away from fire, okay? Because that's what your car is. It's all about fire, right? We've mastered fire, folks, okay?
Oh, it's funny. We should.
Isn't it? But do you see any? Listen, can you show me where I'm off base or anything?
No, I can't.
We're still playing with fucking fire.
Yeah.
Now, is the windmill going to fix it? No. Is solar panel? No. I'm not saying any of that's going to fix it. I'm saying that can be applied, though, in an intelligent way to aid in getting away from fire. That's part of the solution. Fusion, thermal, thorium, nuclear. There's all kinds of other solutions to electrification of the world that we should be discussing. We should be investing in. But those conversations are never paid attention to because you believe that the guy that believes in global warming is a moron and he believes you're a moron, and you two are arguing about whose belief is right and whose belief is wrong. And I don't give a fuck which one is wrong. The bottom line is electrification for the nation is good for all of us. That's the conversation we should be talking about. Someone's saying I'm talking way too smart now. I'm not. I'm talking common sense right now. It's got nothing to do with smarts. What do you think, Cletus?
No, I think it's reasonability is the key, right? And reasonability's what I see lacking more times than not. Is it's, everything's all about outrage on one side or another, and pitting people against each other, when at the end of the day, reasonability is neutral because it is based in fact, not emotion.
I had a discussion with another creator that hates Trump with a passion, which is fine. You can hate the guy, but your hate is based on some misunderstood belief. And the war in Ukraine came up, and I said, well, that war was started by Obama in 2014, and this fucking person blew up on me. I said, relax, I'll get you proof. And so I provided proof from CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, you name it. And they all showed, and they all called it Obama's war, 2014. And it was in Ukraine versus Russia. That's when this war started, folks. It did not fucking start under Biden. It started under Biden and Obama in 2014. It's an unequivocal fact. And I don't say it because I don't like Biden and Obama. It just happens to be the truth. And the person went so buck wild and screaming and yelling, I just had to blow up on him. And then he later went on in life to create reflections from pavement somehow. Maybe I affected the guy. I don't know.
Oh, wow.
What up, 12 gauge?
Wow.
I have that effect on people, and I don't mean to. It isn't like a superpower because it never ends well for the other person. It's sad. Where's Clue?
Right here.
Oh, good evening, Clue. People miss you out here.
What do you mean?
Well, they haven't heard you say anything, and
Well, hellfire, who could talk when you're talking?
Damn. I don't know how true that is. I give Cletus his fair share, and then he stops talking, and I pick it up. And I think you're a little inaccurate on that. Miss, I have 3.5 hour streams every day with no co-host. Anyway, Clue.
You don't need a co-host when you're brilliant. I
know Cletus does well when you put the mic down and go to the bathroom.
What?
They're saying Sergeant Friday for president. What do you think?
That's the most unreasonable thing I've heard all day.
Oh, he's been on YouTube all day.
And you've been on YouTube all day. That makes it even worse. That's wrong. That wasn't nice. Well, this believing in shit's got to stop. And we need to believe in each other at the very least, or at the very most, start with that and realize that no matter who you think is crazy when it comes to like global warming or they voted for Biden, believe me when I tell you, you still, you and them still have more in common than you think.
Well, I have a question.
Sure.
Isn't everything sort of a belief? Because, like you said, you have facts to prove global warming is bullshit, right?
Right.
What if another fact comes out that proves global warming is in fact something real?
Then I would go with that as long as it's a verifiable fact that's supported by information that's verifiable. Sure. I'd accept it.
Well, so then maybe we shouldn't say we know global warming is bullshit.
On the facts that I have and the counter facts that I've seen in my discussions of this with thousands of people over the years, I'm comfortable in saying that because we haven't recovered from pre-ice age temperatures from the 1300 to the 1850 ice age, because those temperatures haven't been recovered, that even if global warming is real, we're still 2 degrees off of that particular number. And not to mention that even before that, it was even much warmer during what they called the Roman warming era. So historically, the planet has been much warmer than it is now. So to say it's not real, even if it is real, it isn't having the impact that that people are believing. They're believing the catastrophes and the flooding. And recently, just to solidify where I say the facts support the argument it doesn't exist, 13 islands in the Pacific Ocean that were supposed to be overwhelmed by floods and actually be under the water have gained an average of 13 meters of shoreline over the last several years. In fact, that means the water has gone down where they are, and they were supposed to be underwater by now. So my point is there's many facts that point to whatever it is we're doing. I don't discount that we're impacting the climate. I do not discount that we're not we are polluting the fucking air. I don't disagree with that at all. That conversation should probably be what it should be about. Not this insanity that we're going to boil the oceans off the planet. Because historical fact shows, and this is in the historical record. This isn't modern day science telling you this. These are in historical records and writings back in the days during the Roman, they call it the Roman warming era. Temperatures that they were aware of in the 1300s. They have information to show this. So, yeah, but if somebody came forward and can show facts that showed that stuff didn't matter, blah, 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 I would most likely accept them if today's temperature exceeded those events. But until it does, I think we're polluting more than we're warming.
Can I just say how entertaining it was to hear you go on another 3 or 4 minute monologue because she pushed the button?
Well, no, but I think the monologue was worth people hearing because it's all facts that people don't have or should have.
No, I agree. I agree.
No, I thought she was setting me up for that. I knew she was, but I think it was a good thing that she did. Honestly.
Yeah. No, I do too.
I'll be quiet.
Just in case I'm wrong, put your handprint on the back of her head. I'd be much obliged.
Well, you're talking about believing in each other, right? And one example that I keep going back to with a conversation around this subject is the Jehovah's Witness that comes knocking on my door every 2 or 3 weeks, right? And a lot of people won't answer the door or engage in conversation with them because they have a preconceived belief that goes against or just it automatically turns off whatever this person knocking on the door has got to say. And they really don't have any understanding about it. And at the end of the day, if you believe in each other enough to have a conversation, to gain an understanding, it's amazing what you learn.
Somebody can believe in a different God than you, and you still should be able to have a sensible, a logical conversation, and you're going to have a lot of common ground. Your belief is yours. It's personal. So, okay, protect that and maintain it. However, if that's going to be your discussion, whether Allah is right or Jesus is right, or that's a conversation. That's why they say politics and religion should be kept like when you go to parties and stuff, or you're dealing with customers, or you're in sales or management. You want to keep those conversations out because now you're delving into people what they believe. And that's a hell of a discussion to get into people. You're trying to change what they believe. And sadly, people believe Chris Proudfoot is involved. They believe no matter what information comes forward, they believe Brian Kohlberger is guilty. They believe the Kansas City 3 was killed by the one survivor. They believe Donna Imes was wrecked by the hospital and the sheriff. And they don't understand that that's not how you deal with information, with your power to believe.
Well, I think at the end of the day, the message that you got of, we need to believe in each other would nullify the point that you don't need to bring up politics or religion. Because if we believed in each other first, there's no reason not to bring up any subject because if you believe in each other first, then you're going to be more reasonable with each other. Instead of just immediately go, oh, well, no, you don't believe in the same God I do. You're bad. Stay away from me. Or let's just avoid that conversation altogether, Nobody wins.
Remember that show, My Name is Earl?
Yeah.
And that lady would say, and I love that lady, don't you judge me. Now, in American society, you hear people saying that all the time. Don't judge me. You shouldn't judge me. Who are you to judge me? And what they're saying to other people is that's what you're doing is you're judging me. You're judging me based on some stereotype or based on some piece of information that puts me or people like me in a bad light. Therefore, you judge me as being part of that bad light because you believe in that information rather than understanding that even if there's 1 million bad people, right? And yet their population is 20 million, there's 19 million good people. That's who you should be engaging with. That's who you should be talking to and things about. Yet we get stuck on this 1 million bad people.
Well, and I find the statement of you're judging me as a really unproductive one, right? Because all you're doing is putting up a defense instead of approaching a conflict in a reasonable way. Does that make sense?
Correct. And knowing that Mr. Proudfoot had made mistakes in the past, regardless of the level of bad you ascribe to them, none of those mistakes point a finger that makes you have the right to conclude he did something to Sebastian. You have no right to make that conclusion. None. Zero. Nor do you have any right to make that conclusion against Katie, or do you have any right to make that conclusion against Brian fucking Kohlberger. To do so is not just wrong, it's sick. There's something wrong with us. We're all doing that. We're all passing judgment, and all the information isn't even nearly in yet. And you've made up your damn mind. You believe these things. And the worst part is you all join together, all you people with a common belief, right? All you Christians, all you Catholics, all you Protestants, all you Buddhists, all you Taoists, all you Muslims. And you all act together on your belief. That's what happens in politics and in true crime and in many different areas. And it spills over. I mean, you go to a car forum and not get away from this nonsense. It's spilled over into everything we do. And we all need to cut it the fuck out. Information is information. There's nothing to believe. The information explains itself. Just follow it.
But vet it first.
Sure. Yeah, you want to vet it.
Yeah, that's the dangerous part, right? Is there's a lot of sources for information, and a lot of people will choose to listen to information from sources they believe are trustworthy. And at the end of the day, most of them are not, especially in today's society, right? Most sources of information, you really got to question.
Right. And look at JLR as an example of sources of information. I'm stunned at the amount of people that follow him around. Or how about the circus guy there? What's his damn name? The guy with the drip there. I think he needs penicillin. Circus guy, crime circus. What is his name?
Yeah, I think
Drip drop.
Yeah,
TikTok?
drip drop.
Yeah, I think he needs penicillin. That guy comes up with some crazy ass ideas, and everybody follows him around. And they buy into it, and they'll use his points as arguing. They'll argue with you. There's tunnels under the house. There's proof there's tunnels. The tunnels had something to do with it. They were carried through the tunnels. They were run. Wow. Really? Then the house gets torn down. There's no tunnels. That guy ends up disappearing. I don't know if you noticed that, but he disappeared for a while, and then he came back.
Yeah.
No talk of tunnels from him, is there? Look at this. Wait. JLR is boots on the ground, and he does his work for free because he's so rich. That's a true man. What kind of insanity could you imagine being that person? Do you see that in the chat room? Their name is translucent. It's probably because their head is empty.
First off, he does not work for free. He is definitely monetized. I'm just going to throw that out there right now.
Well, but he leads people down these witch hunts. He started this shit with Chris. Right? So translucent, I don't know what's going on between your ears, but maybe that name is pretty descriptive. You ought to check that shit out, or sir, whatever you may be. That guy is a circus clown.
Well, but there's an example, right, of vetting information. True, and doing your own research on something before you 100% get on board with a belief about something. Yeah. Because I do know where that perception comes from. 100%. I know exactly where that perception comes from because I watched him do it. But the fact of the matter is, it's just an untrue statement. And it's, it's based on it's that statement would only be based on somebody that took one source of information and didn't truly vet it.
Well, look at the guy. That guy has got a track record of doing this wherever he goes on whatever he's dealing with. And many of the creators also do that because I don't know if they're conscious of realizing this, but y'all are addicted to fucking outrage. And you all seem to want to be part of the outrage. And you guys will go along with people that invent things out of whole cloth, which tunnels, parachutes, blood on a roof. And then when you see absolute evidence with your own eyes that contradicts, for instance, Kohberger's involvement, when you hear these things, you're unable to process them because that would force you to question your belief that he's guilty because you don't understand that you're not supposed to believe in data or information created by man at all, ever. And folks are just stuck on stupid with this. And they believe that Chris is bad, that Chris did it. They believe that Kohberger did it. They believe Trump is going to save them. And that's just nonsense. That's not what we're supposed to be doing.
Well, and talking about it, it's not even just Chris, right? Chris is just the current target of the situation. But if Sebastian isn't found, it's going to turn to Seth. It's quickly turning to Seth. There was a bigger creator today that had a thumbnail that apparently triggered a couple of people I saw saying that they were talking shit about Seth. And it's like, whether they were or not, I don't really know. But what I do know is there's a lot of people waiting to hear the results of Seth's polygraph that he took with Nancy Grace. And if that polygraph result comes back in any kind of a questionable way, there are going to be people that instantly believe he's got something to do with it. And at the end of the day, we can all think, well, I've got my theories, I've got my thoughts on it, but the only fact I know in the situation is that there's a 15-year-old boy missing. But the danger is coming in with people will form beliefs based off of half information or misinformation and then act on that. And that's where the danger comes in.
And I just say that if somebody could copy this or cut this out and send it to Seth, you should have listened to my stream before you did the polygraph. You would have known all about ass puckering and it'd have been fine. Okay? I said that. Where are you, Clue? Oh,
she's
I'm sorry.
distracted.
I was watching another video about this polygraph. My bad.
No, yeah, that's all right.
My name is not up here, so
yeah, but you're there, aren't you? You are the clue behind the Cletus. So anyway, yeah. I just thought that would be kind of funny for Seth to hear. If he'd have heard that prior to the polygraph, that thing would have been released by now, and people would be waving American flags all over the guy. And I don't care what the polygraph says. It means nothing to me. It means zero to me. The whole charade is but see how it plays into the people's drama, and that particular incident now will form people's ability to believe certain things. That polygraph will influence a lot of people.
And it's, I'll put it like this. It's information that I think is, if you're going to theorize, it's worth having and considering and evaluating, but it's not worth acting on. That's the difference, right?
That's the key right there.
Yeah. And that's where, I think the danger in believing the information that's out there comes in because, again, with Chris Proudfoot, you've got people stalking where his camper's parked. You've got people daily driving by his house, documenting on video, on live streams, still to this day, almost 2 months later, that who's at the house, what vehicles are there. I saw lights on during the day. Why aren't they on at night?
Right.
Well, and things like that. And it's like, why are we even taking the action, spending the time going to do that at this point?
You want to hear something? This is political, but because this channel is everything, doesn't matter. People are now complaining. You're not familiar with what this is, but there's a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Authority, which gives our government the ability to spy on foreigners without a warrant. Okay. They've turned that on the American people, and they've used it to unjustly, unconstitutionally crossing their limits to spy on Americans in America. It's a violation of the law, everything. It's the worst thing the government can do. And here's what a lot of people don't remember. And man, you guys are going to be mad. And I hope your ass catches fire when I tell you this. How many of them motherfucking politicians did Trump tell you to vote for that voted to pass that bill? How many did he campaign for? How many did he give support to? And the answer is fucking all of them. So, you run around thinking this guy's going to save you. But the reason your 702 FISA authority is being passed is because Trump stood behind the Lindsey Grahams, the Ted Cruzes, and all of these other jerk-offs, right? Throughout Congress and throughout the Senate. And now we got this. And you're like, well, Trump will fix it. No, Trump is the reason it exists to begin with. Because you believe this guy is something he's not. Because you will not look at the facts and make a conclusion based on factual information. And I want someone to come in here. I'll put a link in the room. You tell me that Trump didn't campaign for these Republicans in both Congress and Senate. Tell me he didn't do that. Because those are the same assholes that won their seat, won it back, and they're the ones voting to authorize a bill that you and I know should not be authorized. Anybody want to come in and show me where I'm wrong on that? Because I'd be happy to be wrong, but I guarantee you, you cannot contradict that. He campaigned for these people. He helped keep them in office. And these people just stuck it up your ass. And you want to blame them? And Trump isn't part of the problem? Really? That's interesting. Do you see where I'm going with that, Cletus?
I do.
You see, I mean, feel free to show me where I'm wrong, because I can always be wrong. There's no question about it. Clue loves showing me when I'm wrong. and listen, I'm glad she does. She ain't intimidated by my voice, my pitch, my tone, my volume. She just fucking wing it right out there.
Well, I'll give you an example of something, a real current event that's going on right now that I saw last night that just made me think about the danger of people believing in information and acting on the information without gathering all the information related to it. Israel did what they did. Iran did what they did as a response, right? And I have seen so many things talking about how wrong of a response, or how wrong it was for Iran to respond the way that they did. And I've sat and thought about that. And I'm like, now, most of the people that I see talking about this, I would venture to guess, have absolutely no idea about any of the facts around anything other than those two events. And probably don't even have all the facts on those two events. But they're immediately jumping to the conclusion that Iran was in the wrong for responding to anything Israel did. And right. I don't have the facts about it. I don't know if it was right or it was wrong, but I refuse to form an opinion on it unless I care enough to go and research all the facts around it and do my own research on it to base my opinion on. But what's happening is people are immediately jumping on that bandwagon because Fox News is reporting it, NBC is reporting it, ABC is reporting it. Everybody is spinning that this was wrong. It was out of control. It's World War III. And I'm like, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But jumping on board with one side without fairly looking at all the facts around it is what leads to a war and gets support for a war that may not be necessary.
That's one of the difficulties of the truth. And I want to welcome 12 Gauge. And I'm going to give you the floor here in just a second. The issue with the truth is that it requires an unbiased observation of the facts. Period. End the fucking story and stop. One issue that people have is that they've never been trained to look at information that way or to observe it that way. So they take what's the most popular opinion and then they adopt it and believe in it. And therefore they think they've accomplished something. And what they don't really realize is they're just adding their number to the problem. Fair enough? Welcome, 12 Gauge.
Oh, I thought I was in line to order a salad and a large drink.
And you don't eat salad. Listen, you don't eat salad. Yeah, listen, man, you don't eat salads. We know what you look like, bro. And salads are not the first thing on your menu. Okay.
No, I just wanted to say hello to you guys. I'm out of here.
Oh,
What's
my
up,
God.
12 Gauge?
I have no debate.
What?
No, why not?
None.
How could you have no debate?
No debate whatsoever. Not on that topic. That is not my no.
What
But
time?
anyways, y'all have a good night. I'm out of here.
What a vagina.
What a vagina.
What
Bring
about
somebody
Gator?
else up. Bring somebody else up. You got plenty of people in your chat. Bring somebody
Dude, you
else up.
joined. Dude, you joined. I didn't drag you in here. You're making it sound like I listen.
We
I
Right
told
covered
you I thought I was ordering a damn salad and a drink. Shit.
well, we know that's not accurate, bro.
We've covered about 12 topics, so pick one
Yeah.
and feel
I
free.
know. I left a while ago to get some food, and y'all were talking global warming. I come back, you're talking about Koberger.
Yeah.
Right,
So I don't
because we're
know.
using these topics as examples of where people apply their belief rather than their thinking cap. These are topics to think on. If you want to believe, go to your religion and believe. Use it there. Don't use it when you're looking at the information about global warming. It doesn't do you any good. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good night.
I spared him the trouble of having to click that button. I just put goodbye. You know me about hanging up, right? Jesus, that didn't add anything to the topic. I'm surprised. Usually he's pretty clever. He's got some good things to say. Anyway, it's been our hour. We've been here for 61 minutes. Cletus,
Yes, sir.
and we're going to try keeping it to that. It's the Monday night. I don't even know what the hell the name of the show was anymore. He threw me for a loop. Stop believing information. And if we all can get an understanding of how simple that is and just start reviewing the data, I think we would all be in a better place.
I agree completely.
And your last words, sir?
I have words.
Okay, beautiful.
I'm confused. Are we for the idea of global warming or against it?
Well, she used that so she can hang up on me. That's one clever female. Well, folks, so now you're left with first there were two, then there were three, and now we're down to one. We lost to Cletus because Clue. Clue. But anyway, folks, it's been an hour. It was fun. These discussions, these topics, these points being made are, I think, valuable, and it would be nice to get them shared, maybe discussed. Let me think here. I do have a Discord link, if you bear with me, for those that would like to talk about that with me. You're welcome to come up into my Discord channel. I'm posting a link of that now. I certainly hope it goes through. Now I'm craving a large soda and a salad. Yeah, I don't know if soda and salad is actually a good meal, but go have it. Right? Don't you judge me. Good night, everybody.